Well, hello again. This is Luci Dumas with The Profitable Photographer. And I'm super excited to share a solo episode today that is about how to plan your year for success. I meant to do this at the 1st of January, but better late than never. Before I jump into all the stuff in my head about this, I want to recommend you go to lucidumascoaching.com, Luci with an I, and you can grab a copy of my ebook called 10 Big Ideas for Marketing in the Real World. What I mean by the real world is to get out of our chairs, go out the door, and get clients in the world and not simply at our computers. One of the advantages to that is that you are more in charge rather than wishing and hoping people would find you on social media. So go there, and then meanwhile, stay right where you are here for my conversation with myself and y'all out there in 91 countries about how to plan a year. Now, first of all, that always threw me off. Like, oh, how do I plan a whole year? And then I discovered a formula where what we do is actually plan 3 months at a time. Now, I know today, when this is posting, we have already had a month, and that's okay because you can start 3 months anytime. Or you could just decide this is going to be goals for the next 2 months, and then I'll start quarterly, whatever fits your personality. So how do we do this? First of all, I love to do a brain dump. Now, what is a brain dump? It is where all the things swirling around in your head, all the things you might do, all the things you plan to do, all the things you don't even want to do, you write them down in a list. And it doesn't have to be only business. It can be like right now, this year, my intention is to get my house painted. I have an old house in a historic neighborhood, and it is way overdue for painting. So that's on my to-do, and it's just to clear the deck. Another thing I do when I'm really like trying to loosen up my brain about marketing is to every morning, let's say, do a 21 for 21, where I write down 21 ideas. They can be real, they can be crazy, but 21 ideas for 21 days that can be marketing ideas, how to get work. I can repeat it if I want to. And what happens is some ideas just really start bubbling up. And also during the day, I'm very like, you know how you sing a song and then you hear that song in your mind a lot? Actually, I do. I don't know. Maybe no one else does that, but I do, and whether I want to or not. So when you're every morning for 21 days writing down ideas, then all day long, other ideas will come to you and other like thoughts about, if I did this, I could do this, this, and this. And so that's always my emergency help. I need to figure out how to get work plan. All right. So we've done all this writing, all this brainstorming, and probably somewhere on the top of your mind are several projects, several ideas that you would like to get done. So what do you do with those? Now, with that 21 day or with the brain dump, you can look that over. You can circle ones that you think are a good idea, and then make a list of those circled ones and keep working at it, keep refining it. But let's say we're going to use these 2 months. I feel like I'm just today because I'm in my cozy house and I got my cozy sweater on. And anyway, okay. So when you have some things in mind, my recommendation is that you pick 2 or 3 that you want to get done in a specific period of time. You want to make it doable. You may want to make it a little bit of a push. So, and you don't want to overwhelm yourself, which I guess is the other side of make it doable. So let's say you want to, in the next 2 months, you want to line up charity events to do gift certificate programs. That is one way that I have gotten so much work over the decades, especially after the 2008, 2009 money problems, perfect storm, digital photography, recession, is I just got really concentrated on finding dozens of nonprofit organizations that were having galas and other fundraising opportunities. So let's say that's something you want to do and you want to get that done in the next 2 months, which I would recommend. This is the time right now, if you're listening in the winter, to line those up. In my area, usually they start planning right after Christmas, and they're looking at spring to early summer or early fall on into the holidays. Usually midsummer, there are not so many, although now and then there are. Okay, so you take that activity and you write down every single thing you need to do to get that done. Do the research, make a spreadsheet, put things on the calendar, make phone calls, have a gift certificate, have a display. When I do a charity event, I do a wall portrait display, like maybe one of the ones you can see if you're watching on YouTube. So getting those ready, getting easels, getting everything in order. So we've got this list. So maybe there's, let's say, 12 things that from today till March 1st, you would need to do to fill up your calendar and get all kinds of bookings. So then you take those and in sequence, you get a calendar. In this case, we're doing it at 2 months. So you do a calendar that's going to stretch for 2 months. And you look at each of those items and you put a target, like this week by Friday, I'm going to have found, is this good grammar? I will have found, this is better, 10 events. And then by this time next week, I will have contacted via email, researching, asking if they're looking for donations to their charity auction. By this date, I will have sent out or made phone calls. The other, anyway, I'm not doing this in sequence, but all of those things, you get what I'm saying. You'd need to write a letter. You need to have a script. Those would be on your to-do list. So when you pop those into your have done by calendar for this particular project, that gives you mini deadlines and also keeps you on track so that when it's time to do your first one, you've got the gift certificate designed, you've got the relationship built, you've got your samples, you've got the easel, you've got everything you need to have that be a successful project. So that's my tip. And I'd recommend, let's say you're only going to do 2 months because you want to keep it calendarly, quarterly, not good grammar. Then you might pick one other project that you're going to schedule out that, again, you're going to write everything you can think of that needs to be done. And then you're going to pop it into a calendar, a day, a week, a month at a time. And then, of course, it's not going to just sit on the calendar. You're going to use that as your guide for activities. One of the things I find when it's this time of year, if you're listening in the winter is, for most of us, it can be pretty slow. And it's nice to think, oh, I'm just going to relax, which I like to do. But also, it is the time to do those things that when we get super, super busy, it's hard to keep track of unless we're already in the flow. So let's say your project for the second quarter is to line up a bunch of work for the summer using a like, let's say you're a boudoir photographer and you're going to do a 40 over 40 program. And so then that second quarter, you're going to make your list, time it out, plan, maybe the event is going to be July 1st. Then you schedule everything you need to do to get those bookings, to get the shoots, to produce. If you're doing either wall portraits and an event, you've got to have the event planned, or if you're doing it virtual, whatever it is, if you're doing a book, you need to schedule everything out. And one of the biggest things you need to do is not get distracted because the squirrels, one time, if you go back about a month to podcast, I actually had a squirrel out my window that distracted me. But I'm a person that is always having new ideas. And it's so easy to want to jump into that next thing. So if you have specific, actionable intentions, then at least it works for me. You can tell yourself, oh, I like that idea. Let's write it down here. But remember, right now, we are concentrating on getting the 40 over 40 program launched and booked and the event planned and all of that. So that's what we're thinking about. Or, hey, thank you, Luci, for sharing all those great ideas. I'm going to write this down. And remember, right now, what you're focused on is getting that calendar filled up for charity events. So it helps me to have the mini deadlines and the major deadline. And it also helps me keep from being distracted when I've got this plan in place. Now, if you want to, if your mind goes this way, especially if you have things that maybe you need to plan 6 months or a year in advance, then of course you can have, let's say, the 2023 yearly plan where you set down on the calendar March 1st what you're going to start, because you need it completed by this other date. So you can think up and you can have intentions for many more things that's going to fill your calendar. I'm not sure if that's good grammar, but that's okay. My grandpa doesn't mind. So you can have the big picture, but I find when I chunk it down to a short period of time, it is easier and I get a lot more done. Now, one of the teachers that I really love, hopefully his name's going to pop in my head soon, but the book is called Getting Things Done, GTD. And his suggestion is that every day we have 3 things that we write down, either before we go to bed, first thing in the morning, that we're going to do in that day, and not 1,000 things on a to-do list we'll never accomplish. It's good to have a to-do master list, but today, what am I doing today? Today, I'm doing this podcast. Today, I'm going to take more of the bins I have in my back room and pull them up to this front conference room. because I'm looking through all old photos to find many of my mom. If you listened a few weeks ago, you know that she passed away first week of January. And so, of course, I want to go through photos, and we're creating a memorial. And so today I'm going to bring, let's say I'm going to set my goal. I'm going to bring 4 bins to this front room. I'm not going to look through them all because that takes you down a bunny trail, but one step at a time. And I think, I'm going to pause for a sec and think about if there's anything else I want to include in today's conversation. So hold tight. Okay, 2 things. The teacher's name that I really like, that helps me think about how to get things done, is David Allen. I knew it would download eventually in my brain. And then one of the things that, as photographers, artists, self-employed people, find challenging, I think for most of us, is realizing that we need help. We need help before we think we need help. Even to have somebody that you can give a small project to for, let's say, 3 hours a week, like research and find all these charity events, or here are all these notes on charity events, put it in a spreadsheet for me. That kind of help is makes all of this go so much more smoothly. And I find that the more help I get, the more income I have. It may sound crazy, but time is money. And for most of you who are, let's say, your pricing is moderately profitable, or, well, profitable, and you're making a low 6 figures, 100,000, 150,000 in sales, with a cost of running the business about 2/3, your time is worth, if you break it down, somewhere between $200 and $400 an hour. That may sound crazy, but when you chunk it all down, how much time it takes to do everything, you need to be investing that time in ways that actually bring you money. What do you do best? What do you enjoy? What is the most profitable? And then what can you let someone else take off your hands? What can you release that perfectionism around? And I'm preaching to the choir here because I am that recovering perfectionist, and I do find it a little challenging, not a little, a lot, to get help and let people do things their way. So that is all I have to say for today. Well, at least on this recording. And so remember, if you're listening to this, you can watch it over on YouTube. If you're watching it, you can listen to this and 188 other incredible podcast episodes with the most amazing guests. I can't believe the people I've had the privilege of interviewing in the last 3.5 years. So check them out. So my summary is: brain dump, 21 days, do 21 crazy to fun ideas about how to market, or it could be crazy ideas of things to do in general in your business, whatever works for you. Then pick just a couple, break down all the steps, calendar it out a week at a time or a day at a time, depending, and then do it. All right. So great big hugs to everyone around the world, and stay tuned for another great episode next week. Bye.